Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice.
And I'm Amy Rose here.
And I am Silver the Hedgehog here.
And I am Blaze the Cat here, and welcome you all for the next video of the Mexi Toys multiplayer aspects.
Yes, exactly, Blaze. Because today, we are about to be going back into Wii Sports again, except this time we are now going to be experiencing the different sports. To be more specifically, golf. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, have we technically already did that video before? Well, that's true, but it's all the way back in, I would say 11 years ago, since, gosh, 2014. And while looking back on it though, I will admit it though right away, despite the fact that both Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi especially have somehow managed to already experience Wii Sports Golf before, but again, like I said before, while looking back on it though, the actual video itself is now basically outdated due to the forms of not only the lack of widescreen, but in addition to that, the commentary itself is not that very good, not only because of how the fact you can't hear the game audio very well, but in addition to our commentary as well.
But not only that though, Sonic, is about the fact that from what I can tell, the picture quality is not great.
But regardless of such though, Amy Rose, is about the fact that thankfully though, the picture quality is going to be much better than any forms of how it does it back in 2014, that's for sure. Which, either way, before we talk more details about this though, let's go ahead and skip this practice screen for now and dive straight into the game itself now. So with that being said, yeah, every time whenever you do manage the first time experiencing Wii Sports Golf, obviously though we have to force to go onto this tutorial screen, so either way, let's go ahead and skip this for now. So let's begin.
Yep, let's go.
Start!
Alright, so here's the actual idea about the forms of Wii Sports Golf, is that I am obviously going to be player 1.
And I'm going to be player 2, of course.
And meanwhile for me, I'm going to be player 3.
And finally for me, I'm going to be player 4.
Now, for those of you probably wondering, yes, much like the forms of how it does it on Wii Sports Bowling, obviously though we did manage to make our Miis on my spare own time, or should I say not only my Mii, but in addition to Amy's and Silver's Mii, so as a result, even though we've already technically seen Blaze's Mii before, since around 4 months ago, since after trying to celebrating our 14th anniversary for the Mexi Toys YouTube channel. So because of that though, yeah, it looks like so far so good for my first swing in terms of the forms of this particular sport itself. And, just like the forms of how it does it on bowling, obviously though we will share the Wii emotes to each other. So, for instance though, I did somehow pass it over to Amy now, because as you can definitely tell, that unfortunately though, we were expecting to be able to try to utilize the individual Wii remotes, but of course I don't have enough batteries for it. So because of that though, I suppose one is going to be good enough for us to be able to actually share the exact same controller. So as long as about the fact that we don't have to worry about the forms of that particular pandemic system anymore. Yeah, exactly, that's definitely true there, Blaze. But regardless of such though, it's about the fact, as you can tell, Silver did somehow manage to able to, swing the golf club a bit harder than it seems. But, at the very least though, he did manage to able to get himself the further distance as far as this is concerned. So, anyways though, so yeah, there are a few things we want to explain to you all for something, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, well, like I said before, it's about the fact that, well, today's date of course there is the 30th of June today, in some cases in 2025 today. Now, you probably already know about the fact that obviously though, that as soon as when it gets to the point until tomorrow, all the way up to the 3rd of July, like we've already mentioned about this before, there won't be any uploading schedules from now on until whenever we go back into returning home, and during at some point on the 4th of July, in time too, in regards to the forms to try to celebrate the Independence Day for America, which as a result, yeah, that particular conversation can wait, so either way. So of course, as to be expected, we are once again going to be experiencing all 9 holes in journey forms of, golf sport in Wii Sports. So this means about the fact that this time around though, that as you can definitely tell, the picture quality is much more nicer this time around. In addition to that though, widescreen, as to be expected if you can clearly tell. And on top of all that stuff though, we can now hear the game audio. So because of that though, I consider this to be a massive improvement, all in all, compared to the phones of how it does it back in 11 years ago, which, truth be told though, is about the fact that it is very strange while looking back on it though. I mean, generally speaking, that was about the fact that, like I stated earlier, that you can't hear the actual commentary very well, or the game audio for that matter. So because of that though, the only time you do only hear most of your time is like, it's hard for me to explain personally, but regardless of such though, yeah, that's as far as I can try to describe about the phones of while looking back for that particular comparison with the old video compared to this right now. So, I digress. So, it looks like it's now, well, kind of thing about it though is about the fact it has been quite a while since we've last experienced Wii Sports Golf ever since in, 11 years ago. I mean, generally speaking, I was about the fact that good thing I've got enough practice for the sake of the forms of trying to go for the entire video itself. So, either way, I think so far that me and Blaze have gone a little bit further away from the hole. So because of that, I had to do some bit of gentle swings here and there, so just in case I don't want to overshoot myself so many times. But at the very least though, that Amy, she was actually quite close to the hole so far. So, I mean, to be expected at this point though, Sonic, is about the fact that I don't know about you, but I'm actually pretty good at golf, believe it or not. So, anyway, so here goes my swing. Oh, so close to able to actually get that chip in when it comes to likely trying to get the birdie for almost instant. So, yeah, because as a matter of fact, though, it's about the fact, I believe, the other 3 holes in particular, that obviously, though, we're able to come across into par 3s and par 4s and par 5s. So no matter what though, like for instance though, in hole 1 as well as the forms of hole number 6 I think it was, and in addition to hole number 7, I'm pretty sure the par target was actually 4, whilst in the forms of in hole number 2, and in addition to hole number 4 and hole number 8, obviously though we're able to experience par 3. So I believe in hole 3 and hole number 5 and the final hole, which is definitely going to be the challenging hole to go through, basically though is about the fact that they do have 5 pars potentially. So anyway, so that's the first hole done. Pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's a very simple, straightforward hole for that particular point it's worth noting for. And now we get into hole number 2, where if I can recall correctly, it might be possible that you can able to actually get ourselves a hole-in-one in that particular hole over there. But regardless of such, though, it's about the fact that we have to rely on the forms of not only our, our swing motions, but in addition to trying to adjust to the wind. So as a result, though, it's about the fact that it's all about the accuracy, basically. So, oh, so close to able to get the hole-in-one right there. Yeah, you were so close for that, Amy. Well, regardless of anything else, though, it's about the fact that sometimes, though, every once in a while, though, if you really want to go for a practice swing, then you might able to let go of the A button as soon as when you're trying to practice the swing, as you can see, what Silver just somehow did. So, yeah, everything else checks out there, basically. So, anyway, there's also another thing else I'd like to point out as well, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, did you guys know, it's been 10 years ago since Tom Holland did somehow cast as Spider-Man, which, believe me while I'm saying this, geez, time flies. Even though that was before, then he did somehow manage able to join in the actual film played in during the films have been, let's just say, in Captain America Civil War, at least that's as far as I've noticed anyway. Oh yeah, because of how the fact that that was the most, well, it's hard for me to talk about this per se, because it's been quite some time since we did somehow watch something relates to Marvel Studios, believe it or not, because, well, from what I can tell, from what I've heard anyway, that we are still waiting for, Thunderbolts to be releasing on Disney Plus at some point, well, it's not going to be until specifically in, let's just say, if I can recall correctly, we might have to wait on that particular film to be released on Disney Plus until probably in August or September, depending on the forms of the actual specific, you know, you get the idea for that point, as far as speculation itself goes.
Nice birdie.
Alright, not too bad there, Blaze. Why, thank you, Silver. Especially because considering for the fact that, obviously though, in the beginning it's not so bad, but until later on it gets a bit difficult later on, as you probably already said that earlier, Sonic. Especially because, well, for what I can remember about the fact I believe that Waluigi, he's the only one that he did manage able to achieve an eagle, at least in one of the holes, which, if I can recall, is going to be in hole 1. Yes, exactly, Blaze. Especially because considering for the fact that so far in our parts, in the most recent times, that we haven't actually got not only a Troubleus, but also an Eagle, and even hole in 1. So because of that, though, the only common thing we can only try to get is, of course, birdie, par, and even bogeys, essentially. So because of that, though, now let's move on to hole number 3, where as you can tell, it says par 5, so this means it's going to be the longest courses in the actual sport. So, and as you can tell, we now come across into ourselves strong wind. So because of that though, always have to make sure for the fact that although there's also the left side, which you can able to use as a shortcut, but I wouldn't recommend it I wouldn't recommend it personally, but that's just mainly because, well, if you did manage able to go across to the point for the fact that if you let your ball manage able to go into this very darker patch of grass, that means it's out of bounds. So because of that, again, I do apologize about the forms of this very awkward commentary sometimes because tongue twisting, that's why. So because of that though, yeah, I might able to agree with you for this point, Sonic, because I'm not going to take any risks when it comes to likely trying to make it for that particular left side when it comes to the forms of fairway, unless if you're extremely lucky. But then again though, as you stated earlier, that we have to rely on the forms of the wind direction as well, so yeah, I digress. So, there's also another thing I'd like to point out as well, that apparently though, DreamWorks might be planning to able to try to make the forms of the sequel of Dogman, which to be more specifically, Dogman 2. I'm guessing it's like the next chapter, based off for the sake of the forms of one of those children's books or something like that. I mean, that would be interesting though, despite I still have not seen Dogman yet, but that's just mainly because no matter what though, back then, that we attempt to wait for the forms of, you know, Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning to be come out on the forms of on the cinema screen. Well, the only thing that matters to me though, is about the fact I'm pretty sure that the DVD release for that film is expected to be releasing at some point in September, or anything else like that, because I already know for a fact that, well, obviously that particular film did already came out on, the cinemas since May, so, oh, you gotta be kidding me, I somehow got an OB for that? Jeez, thanks a lot, Wind, for able to actually try to blow my golf ball into that particular darker patch of grass. Although, ultimately, though, I'm also take a rough, thing any day, so. And yes, just like the forms of how it does it back in 2014, in addition to 2019, all thanks to the forms of Wii Sports Resort, variation of golf. This video kind of feels a bit lengthy, but that's just mainly because no matter what though, depending on our skills, when it comes to more accurately, as you can tell, Silver also got out of bounds. So, yeah, I can blame the wind for that, but that's just because no matter what though, I was able to actually try to get away with not only with the darker patch of grass, but in addition to those trees as well, because don't even get me started on those trees, because if you let any of your golf balls almost goes right near to the trees, you are screwed. So, yeah, that's one way to put it. So, anyway, so there's also another thing I'd like to explain to you all, is that you remember there's actually a compilation game has already came out for a multitude of platforms, which appears to be Gex Trilogy. Well, it may look like that Gex Trilogy has finally been patched and works on Switch 2 now. So this means about the fact that that compilation right now is actually a lot more stable now, depending on what specific Nintendo Switches you play on, either on Switch 1 or in Switch 2. So because of that though, yeah, that's sure it's something. So, anyway, And there's also another thing else that's worth noting for is that, yeah, it is definitely not possible for the fact that the Nintendo Direct is not going to happen throughout the forms of June this time around, so, oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. But at the very least, though, that we've already got one of those Nintendo Directs focuses on Donkey Kong Bonanza, so that's something, alright? And it's especially noticeable considering for the fact that we've only just got about 17 more days to go until that game is going to be releasing on Nintendo Switch 2. So because of that, still, we are getting very close, isn't it?
And not only that though, Sonic, we've only got 24 more days to go until Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV is upon us as well.
Oh gee, if we decided able to actually tackle through Super Mario Party Jamboree Let's Play, that particular Let's Play alone is going to be much, much longer. I mean, I could imagine about the fact that if we managed to go through not only the Switch 1 version for the sake of the majority of the forms of any other aspects, but also try to show off the Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive stuff here and there, my goodness, it'll be much longer in comparison to the forms of our other Mario Party Let's Plays in the past. Like, for instance, though, with Super Mario Party in 2018, and I think that's as far as I can try to describe it, actually, because, well, generally speaking, is that between both Super Mario Party and Super Mario Party Jamboree, both do manage able to have gem-packed full of content, in addition to massive character rosters, which, as a result, still, no wonder why about the fact that the original Super Mario Party is still doing pretty well in terms of the actual sales numbers, which I'm still generally surprised, so, anyway. Alright, so let's see what really... Oh, nice! Nice skill there, Blaze, despite the fact that you accidentally got double bogey because you did somehow complain about that gosh darn wind from earlier, so... And that could be also applies to me as well, just because... Oh, really? I forgot about the terrain. Yeah, you might have to consider that particular point things out for the sake of time there, Silver, but I digress, so... At least I'll take a part anyway, so I wouldn't mind it too much.
Although, unlike me, there might be a good chance for me to able to actually get myself my glorious birdie. So, chances are, there I go.
Nice birdie.
So it may look like that Amy's doing really well right there.
Yeah, because as far as I'm aware, that Waluigi did manage to able to win Wii Sports Golf back then in 2014, despite that, for what I can tell for the results, it's always going to be plus number something, like, if I can recall, like +4 or something, whilst so far for me, I actually got minus numbers, so yeah, that's actually pretty swell on my part.
Alright, so now let's move on to hole number 4, where basically in this one actually has par 3, so again, it's another one of those shorter courses that we can able to experience with, so... In fact, kind of thinking about it though, is about the fact that I can't even believe by saying this, is about the fact that we've now come across into ourselves 4 different variants of the forms of the golf sport from the likes of Nintendo for the sake of the forms of Wii Sports or sports compilation games these days, because, well, obviously we've already got one for Wii Sports, which we are currently playing through right now, and there's also Wii Sports Resort version, which not only brings resort courses, but in addition to bringing back classic stages from Wii Sports, and there's also Wii Sports Club variation, which, obviously in Wii Sports Club, you have to utilize not only the Wii Motion Plus peripheral, or Wii Remote Plus, every nowadays, but also you have to use the Wii U gamepad as well, for doing the forms of a lot of golfing action, which, I will admit though, that particular setup, whenever I first saw it, is very, very awkward and very unintuitive as well to me though, because I much rather prefer like having a simple, straightforward swing motion controls, because obviously though in Wii Sports it's pretty simple, whilst in Wii Sports Resort there's actually forms of some motion accuracy, like, it's hard for me to explain personally though, but regardless of such though, that's as far as I can try to describe about it. So anyway, and finally there's also the forms of the Nintendo Switch Sports, which also includes the golf, despite the fact that back then, they have to wait until the actual stupid free patch updates in order to able to actually make that game accessible, or should I say the sports. So generally speaking, no wonder why, every nowadays that a lot of players really despise free patch updates kind of system like that, which is especially noticeable that, well, you probably get the idea when it comes to likely for the majority of you know, Nintendo Switch 1 games like, you know, Mario Tennis Aces, Mario Golf Super Rush, Mario Strikers Battle League Football. These are the worst examples of, like, you know, free patch update system whenever they try to add new content later down the road, like a roadmap or something like that. Well, as far as the forms of Sonic Frontiers also has the actual, free game update patches here and there. But at the very least, though, we did manage to actually just try to like, get like some bit of fun times in regards to the forms of trying to interact with all these like new features every once in a while, just before, you know, the final Horizons came out. So anyway, oh, and speaking of something Nintendo related, is that did you know about the fact that despite the fact that, you know, one of those newer games that recently came out, which appears to be Death Stranding 2 on the beach, did you know about the fact that apparently though, Nintendo Pictures, ironically enough, did somehow worked on Death Stranding 2 on the beach? Really?
Unbelievable! Oh, that was very unheard of.
Well, despite the fact that Death Stranding 2 did recently only came out on, I would say on PlayStation 5 most likely, just because, well, no matter what though is about the fact that, well, it's hard for me to explain about this particular subject for me personally, but regardless of such though is about the fact that it is very, very, very unexpected whenever I first heard about that particular article, all about the forms of Nintendo Pictures did somehow worked on Death Stranding 2 on the beach, which, yeah, it's pretty strange. So, anywho though, oh, and on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that speaking of the forms of something Nintendo related as well, unfortunately though, there might be some controversies out there in regards to the forms of Mario Kart World so far, and that's what appears to be for the fact that, well, for instance though, is about the fact that I've noticed about the fact that a lot of players out there, ourselves included, have already had a really dang fun time so far in regards to the forms of online play in Mario Kart World. Specifically though, not only in Knockout Tour, but in addition to the forms of versus race as well. Well, apparently though, the new update just came out, which appears to be version 1.1.2, and a lot of players are pretty upset about this, mainly because no matter what though, remember the forms of their good old times about the fact that if you're trying to able to actually experience online play, like for example though, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, nowadays though that is, then obviously though about the fact that if you're trying to select random selections of courses, obviously though is about the fact that they always ended up you on the actual 3-lap track. Whilst in the forms of Mario Kart World nowadays though, there are some tracks it still might be accessible in terms of the forms of the 3-lap track, but most of the time though, it's all about intermissions with all these highways and all that stuff, which I know for a fact that that might actually upset a lot of people out there, because they always attempt to prefer the classic traditional rules, which I know for a fact is a little bit fake to say this for this point. Well, I think where you get the point there, Sonic, and that's what it appears to be for the fact that I do really wish there was actually the option for able to actually have not only intermissions acceptable, but in addition to having classic mode, like it plays very similar to the good old Mario Kart days with all that 3-lap tracks and all that stuff, which it's hard for me to explain. Well, despite the fact though, Silver, is about the fact that we already know for a fact that Mario Kart World has been out for about 25 days now, in addition to, you know, the actual Nintendo Switch 2 itself. So because of that, still, we're really hoping about the fact that we'll hear more about the forms of some upcoming, not only Nintendo Switch 2 games, but also some little Switch 1 games here and there as well, in case about the fact that we can able to actually know about the forms of the actual, the release dates for, you know, not only for the likes of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond for both Switch 1 and Switch 2, but in addition to the forms of seeing the forms of some other surprises here and there as well, and even with the forms of third-party support of announcements as well. So because of that, yeah, it's hard to judge about that particular front though, but either way, we'll have to wait and see what happens until we make it our way to next month, which is of course July. So because of that though, but then again now, as we've already established that before, we might have to wait on going back onto more uploading schedules until specifically later on, specifically in July, because as far as I'm aware, that we're about to be taking a mini holiday break from now on, just in case that as soon as we've done multitude of things at once, then obviously that was about the fact that we might able to actually take a break for a while, so... I mean, because after all though, Sonic, about the fact that we've already know, for the fact that Maxi has already did manage to conclude every aspect in terms of the forms of Paper Mario now, so that means about the fact he's gonna deserve to able to have his own massive break after experiencing a lot of Paper Mario, which, yeah, you get the idea for this point, Silver, which, anyway, so as far as I'm aware, about the fact that also what I've noticed is about the fact that recently, during the events event yesterday, that Jewel did somehow manage to recently finish up every aspect in terms of the DS version of WarioWare DIY. So now she's going to be moving on into the WiiWare counterpart, which should be WarioWare DIY Showcase. So as a result, that's going to be up until specifically, let's just say on Saturday or something like that. Or for the majority of the weekends, just like the defaults of how it does on the DS counterpart. So, but still, no matter what though, is about the fact that at the very least we got back on track in regards to the forms of uploading schedules now. So because of that, despite the fact that the first half of 2025 to me though, just feels a bit kind of slow and is also very sluggish on our parts just because of that. Well, you know what I mean, with the stupid illness that we keep on having and all that stuff, which... I'm pretty sure for the fact that Maxi or Jewel did somehow already point it out, in addition to Pac-Man as well. So yeah, you get the idea for this point. So
anyway, so it looks like we're now on to the halfway point in terms of golf in Wii Sports. So
yeah, there's going to be a lot of emphasis about the fact that, well, as you can tell, we now moved on to hole number 6, where basically though we need to avoid the river, because if you dare let the ball go into the river, that counts as water hazard. So, in fact, between both out of bounds and in addition to water hazard as well, your score count will increase. So, yeah, you don't want to have that, or even strokes for that matter, so...
yeah, you get the idea for this point, Sonic, so...
It is also reassuring about this too, actually, is about the fact that I'm pretty concerned about the fact that no matter what though, we are almost getting close to able to try to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, so no matter what though, we still have no idea what Nintendo's planning for next after the events of that particular, you know, Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct. So I'm sure enough that we'll hear more about the forms of some surprises about the forms of the 40th anniversary of the Super Mario Bros. Franchise. I mean, if I have to guess correctly, that imagine about the fact that if the actual 40th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. Franchise is going to be the thing, I think my guess was, when it comes to the forms of one of those announcements they'll bring, I would classify for saying this is about the fact that my speculation for that is that they might able to actually bring the special edition Nintendo Switch 2 Mario themed. So as a result, it's going to be all red colored, and in addition to that though, I wouldn't so sure about the forms of Joy-Con 2 controller specifically though, but we shall wait and see what happens if the fact that no matter what though, if my speculations are correct. Although, I won't get my hesitation up just yet, so...
I mean, to be fair though, Sonic, is about the fact that we're still on the 6th month, of course, so by that time until tomorrow is going to be the 7th month of 2025, so,
yeah, I suppose you get the point there, Blaze, so, anyway, oh, in addition to that though, is about the fact that we might able to actually just, classify for saying this, is about the fact that hopefully by that time, once we're able to actually get things started, in terms of the forms of, the second half of 2025, that, like I said before, I'm really hoping about the fact that the illness does not slow us down. In terms of the forms of the actual uploading schedule routine, I mean, no matter what though, is about the fact that I can assure to you that we're actually getting very close to our, well, let's just say, 1,100 subscribers. Well, at least as far as we're getting very close to that amount. So,
yeah, we'd like to thank you all for that massive support in terms of the forms of the Maxi toys so far.
Well, despite what the forms of how bad the beginning was, just because of all that, well, you get the idea that back then we used that very, very, very bad quality camera, which, jeez Louise, it was 240p camera that we did somehow use back then, despite both you, Amy, and Silver and Blaze do not even know up until now, because during a long time ago actually, that both me, Tails, and Knuckles did manage able to play around with the actual very old camera, or should I say, the cheap camera, which appears to be the Buzz B camera, which as a result though, while looking back, the quality is terrible, which as a result, not only that though, if you try to stare onto the forms of, let's just say, a DS screen for instance, or even a 3DS screen, or heck, even with the forms of Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 screen, while you're trying to focus the camera with it, the annoying red light shows up, which means about the fact that it's going to be there throughout the majority of the Let's Play, which as a result, one of those examples include our Let's Play of The Princess and the Frog for the Nintendo DS. My goodness, that red light is really annoying, which I will have to admit to that right away. We might still try to consider trying to do a redo Let's Play of that game at some point. I mean, let us know in the comments down below if you guys want me to tackle through a redo Let's Play of The Princess and the Frog for the Nintendo DS specifically, just because, well, despite the fact that our views count is, like, pretty high still, but regardless of such though, it might end up on our risk for the actual likely trying to delete them, for trying to likely subtract our views count. So, I mean, we shall wait and see if whatever we do manage to get some response to that. I mean, either way, oh jeez, I got a bogey for that. That's just very pitiful, but regardless of such though, that's as far as I can try to able to point that out, so.
Alright, so now let's move on to hole number 7, and as you can tell, I'm still in the lead right now, despite the fact I've almost got myself my good streak when it comes to the forms of getting birdies, but oh well, beggars can't be choosers I suppose, but either way, it's my turn again, because obviously though is about the fact that, well, it's hard for me to explain about the fact that how I've always ended up in first for that particular turn so far. Well, either way, I'm still doing rather well, don't you guys agree? Well, I won't admit it though, Amy, you certainly are.
But anyway though, in addition to that though, is about the fact that I'm pretty concerned about the fact that we've only just got about, I would say approximately, 2 months left until Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, plus Star Cross World is about to be releasing on Switch 2. I mean, I wouldn't mind replaying the game again, but this time around though with the additional content, and I'm really expecting they might able to try to mention about something related to the fact that they might have some Nintendo Switch 2 features on it, like for instance though with the mouse controls for some mini games, and in addition to that though with the forms of just anything else in general really, so.
Oh, and I can't even believe by saying this is about the fact that, you know, with 2027 is going to be super duper exciting, especially that. Ugh, what was that for, Sonic?
Well, you don't want to spoil things too much in regards to the forms of the most recent Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, because, well, despite the fact that that film has been out for about, let's just say, 6 months ago now. So, I thought to myself about the fact I have to stop you for that particular speech because, well, you're not able to talk to every other audiences out there about the forms of some spoilers for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie. In addition to that, well, you get the idea for that point, so.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist.
But, I digress. So, as far as I'm aware, though, is about the fact that once we do decide able to actually have ourselves our mini holiday break, oh yeah, what about it, Silver? Well, I thought to myself, am I was able to actually bring the phone with us, so potentially we can able to rewatch, you know, not only Tiny Toon Adventures, how I spend my vacation, because, you know, it's all summary right now, and in addition to that, we might also watch, or rewatch, not only, Pokemon the Movie 8, Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, and in addition to Pokemon the Movie 9, which is of course Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea, because you know, Manaphy was the mythical Pokemon, and straight to the point, that film to me though, almost reminds me of Summer 2. I mean, let's face it though, in the beginning portion of the actual adventure, to be more specifically, with Ash Ketchum, May, Max, and Brock, somehow managed able to actually wander it off in the actual well, let's just say in this heat weather and stuff like that. So I thought to myself, yeah, that could be a summer movie for us too, alongside with, of course, Tiny Toon Adventures, How I Spend My Vacation, and in addition to that, I also managed able to watch a Goofy movie as well, because that film also reminds me of summer as well. And relatively speaking, I might try to consider getting the DVD version of that particular film. Despite that, however, though, Silver, it might seems a little bit redundant, because, you know, that film is already on Disney Plus as it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, though, it is still a pretty good time, but regardless of such, though, it's about the fact that, after all, that particular film now has widescreen support, specifically on Disney Plus version, alongside with the phones of an extremely goofy movie, so a little bit of a tongue twisting again, but that's just mainly because I was trying to say something specifically, but chances are that was about the fact I didn't think straight so many times, so... Oh, really? Really now? Ah, don't you dare do that to me.
Alright, let's see if I can get mine in, if I'm thinking that might be possible.
Nice.
Which I don't mind taking apart.
So yeah, at this point it's about the fact that we're now entering into the expert courses. So, because usually, relatively speaking though, in hole 1 all the way up to hole 3 is often considered to be the beginner stage. And as far as I'm aware, hole 4 and hole 5 and hole 6, those are considered to be immediate, I think is what it says anyway. And lastly, with hole 7 and hole 8 and hole 9 especially, those holes in particular are most likely experts. So, yeah, unfortunately though, my result is not good on hole 7. But that's just mainly because not only do I blame on the wind, but in addition to my arm motions as well, I suppose. Alright, so 7 holes down and only 2 more to go. So either way, time for hole 8. So, yep, in some cases this hole is now often considered to be the final hole with part 3. So I wonder if there might be some chances for me to be able to get myself my glorious hole in 1. Well, the thing is though, unlike in Mario Golf and Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, or heck, even with the forms of the majority of the Mario Golf games, believe it or not, that you can definitely see the forms of the horizon of where exactly what the ball's gonna land on. I mean, relatively speaking, that's not the case for this game, unfortunately. So, oh well, beggars can't be choosers, I guess. But at the very least, though, Amy, you are actually onto the edge of the green so far.
Yeah, that's probably true, especially how ridiculously fast this goes, with that particular golf ball in mind.
But either way, so it's now my turn, so let's see if I can try to aim this at the right angle. And thankfully though, there's no wind, so I don't have to worry about the forms that particular wind momentum or anything, so... Oh, so close, able to get a hole in 1 in there. I mean, jeez, that was kind of a close call right there. And of course, just like me, Sonic, that you somehow ended up in a fair way, almost nearly further away from the green itself. Oh, that's a good shot. Oh, can I possibly stay on the green? Hey, what are the chances? Alright, so I have no choice but to go for that little approach shot, so... Oh, close. So close for that particular shot. Alright, so it's my turn again. So let's see if I can able to get that ball into the actual hole while doing the actual approach, which I did.
Chip in.
My skills are superior, I'm telling ya. Alright, let's see if I can get mine in on here. So I don't know if it's gonna be possible, but we shall see. Oh, nice in.
Wow, both Blaze and Amy doing pretty well in hole number 8, that's for sure. Alright, let's see if I can get mine in. Alright, top notch. Alright, Sonic, what about you? Well, might as well get my par, I guess, because I almost gone very close to get myself my glorious birdie, but so far I've only got 1 birdie so far, which I just wish I need more birdies than that, but either way. Oh boy, let's get into, without a doubt, is the hardest hole in the whole entire game in golf in Wii Sports, and that is hole number 9. Not only for the fact that we have to go from island to island, but in addition to that, the place itself is a lot bigger, and on top of that, strong wind is back again. So because of that though, yeah, it's going to be a lot more difficult in regards to the forms we're trying to go for this entire stage, so...
Well, so far so good, for starters, on my part.
Yeah, because believe it or not though, Amy, you seem to have some very good luck in terms of the forms of this sport so far, compared to, I would classify as saying that probably Silver? Hey. Well, to be fair though, Silver, because of how the fact that you keep on using your, psychokinesis in regards to the forms to try to utilize with the Wii remote and everything. I mean, luckily though, we still have to be very careful of not to whack it into our TV, because otherwise, if we dare broke the TV, then we have to get another one, so...
I mean, on the plus side though, Sonic, is about the fact that we still got the wrist straps, so that's something.
Yeah, because I do remember that back in Forms of in 2007, I think it was, that Shadow, when he managed able to got Rage Quit in one of the bosses in Sonic and the Secret Rings back then, I think I was in Pirate Storm World, I think it was. That's what appears to be the boss fight called Captain Behemoth, and as a result though, when Shadow keeps on dying, that he just somehow throws his Wii remote in any spot of the room. Luckily it's not on the TV, thankfully, so because of that though, and what happens was though, he breaks the Wii remote, and as a result, he just got Rage Quit, so...
Aw, you joking. I got out of bounds for nothing? Oh jeez, thanks a lot, Wind.
Yeah, that's what I mean right there. Hole number 9 is definitely a lot more difficult compared to any other holes in golf, so don't you dare.
Huh, that was close.
But that doesn't excuse the fact that I'm actually in a rough patch of grass right now. Alright, let's see how mine turns up. Oh, good lord, that was close. Alright, let's see how I'm gonna deal with this point. I'm probably not gonna go onto the final island on the horizon, because I'm actually gonna be taking itself a little bit easier for myself by going into another island where it does have some fairways, you know?
Actually, could believe it or not though, because of how the fact that on the training mode in Wii Sports, there's actually a lot of activities you can do. Like, for instance though, there's the target practice, and in addition to putting practice and approach practice, as far as I'm aware of.
Oh yeah, because considering for the fact that, well, we'll explain more details about that later, so...
Oh, good lord. It's bad enough the tree is in the way, so I have no choice but to swing it hard. And, unfortunately though, there's our first water hazard. Ah, jeez, that leads me back here again. Ah, jeez, this is not looking good on my part.
So I'm afraid about the fact that Blaze is actually having a rough time in hole 9 so far.
Oh, I'm hoping this will work.
Nope, sadly it isn't.
Ah, that's a bit of a nuisance. Oh, that's very unfortunate for you, Blaze. Huh. Oh, could it possibly make it to the green? Oh, not quite. Not quite just yet.
Well, that's easy for you to say though, Amy. Ha! Are you joking? I wasn't near to it! Ah, good lord. Alright, so it's my go. Oh, jeez. I have no choice but to hit it hard because I just want to get a little bit further away from the meter tells me to. Oh, jeez, this is not good for me. I'm literally on stroke 10. Gee. But at least, thankfully, I made it. Well, nothing matters anyway, because I might as well get the worst results ever. Alright, let's see if I can go for this point. Oh, that's a little bit far, but thankfully, though, it stops on the 9 for the most part. Alright, I might as well get my stuff done and over with. That's alright. Alright, let's see if I can just try to go near to the hole itself. But yeah, that's as far as we can able to say about the forms of today's discussion at this point, guys. I mean, sure, no matter what though, about the fact that we were originally trying to able to describe about the updated version of that particular highest grossing films of 2025 so far. But let's just say for the fact that we'll let Jewel will mention more about it if she's going on to WarriorWare DIY Showcase. So because of that, yeah. And as far as I'm aware though, is about the fact that unfortunately though, the weather condition for today right now is actually going pretty meh today. I mean, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that all we're really seeing is just like, you know, more wind. Well, regardless of such though, is about the fact that hopefully by tomorrow, once we decide to take our mini holiday break, then we should able to expect our weather condition will be a lot more better for that point. So there goes my go, and as a result I've got a par, so either way, it's now Silver's turn. And somehow I've got the double bogey, which is not great. Well, better than, you know, multitude of plus numbers, that's for sure. And now it's my turn to finish it off with a pretty bad result, +8. So I'm instantly in 4th. And meanwhile for me, I'm actually going to be going for a par for last, so this means I became victorious, so I am the winner!
Finish!
And yes indeed, Amy, you somehow become victorious in Wii Sports Golf, with it consist of -6. So because of that though, yeah, it looks like no matter what though, that I'm in 2nd place with a middle result, and meanwhile for Silver, that he got +3, and finally for Blaze the Cat, she's sadly in 4th place with +7, and I'm like, ouch, that must have felt very, very painful for that result, especially with that final hole, all things considered. But on the plus side is though, guys, well played. Yeah, well played there, Amy. Yeah, well played. Yeah, certainly well played. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching of this particular video. I know it's been a lot of fun experiencing Wii Sports Golf again, but this time with a much more better quality. And not only that though, much more better sound quality, and you pretty much named the rest of it. So yeah, we did have a lot of fun experiencing Wii Sports Golf after all. So with that being said, folks, this is me, Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm Amy Rose, Silver the Hedgehog, and I am Blaze the Cat. And until then, oh yeah, we got this stuff packed, aren't we? Oh yes, of course, so we might as well do that straight away. So with that being said, folks, we will see you guys enjoying at some point on the 4th of July for celebrating in Independence Day, and we will see you guys at some point in our next bunch of Let's Plays coming up. So we'll see you guys then.